Hey guys, I want to do an updated video on my VFC MK18 Mod 1. I have changed a few parts. A lot of it has stayed the same from my previous video. I think I did one back in 2020, but I've swapped a few things out, so I'd like to go over all the externals again really quick and then kind of go over in depth more of some of the changes that I've made since my previous video on it. So starting off with the Sling. It's a Faro Concepts Slingster, and the only thing that's different on this is the pull tab. I updated the pull tab with their version 2. The first pull tab I think was made by ITW, and it was like an Orbit Alpha or something like that. But this one is a lot more tactile and I think easier to manipulate versus the old one. Kind of see the Faro Concepts logo there. And I think this is a little bit more durable from what I've heard, but the other one was just like kind of like a rubber ring that you would grab onto, which was kind of also a snag hazard. So I think that's why they ended up swapping to this updated design. So there's the Sling. Nothing else is different on that. Go ahead and pop that out of the stock, and then we'll start at the stock. So haven't changed the stock. This is a Magpul CTR. This is a real stock Milspec, not commercial, and it fits the VFC buffer tube just fine. Haven't had any issues with that. The grip is a Dytac Bravo motor grip, and I get a little bit more whine with the motor because of the engagement angle, but I haven't actually worked on the gearbox at all. So I probably could alleviate some of that once I open it up, which I do plan to start working on internals at this point. And then moving there, we have a Magpul MOE trigger guard, flat dark earth. Magazine, still the D-Day P-Mags, the M3, don't have any issues with those. And I do have a Magwell on here now, so this is an HRF Concepts RCM, or Rifle Combat Magwell. This is actually one of the prototypes that was sent to me back before they were officially released, and I spray painted this one with Airvo Coyote, which I think is a good color match for a lot of the other accessories that I have on here. Kind of see how the flare meshes pretty well with the VFC Airsoft Magwell there. And I do need to note that I did have to Dremel quite a bit for this even to fit the Airsoft VFC lower. As you can kind of see, I ended up having to take quite a bit of material off of that, so you can't just buy an HRF Concepts RCM and have it fit, depending on your Airsoft lower receiver. So alright, moving to the rear sight. This is the stock rear sight that comes on the VFC MK18 Mod 1. It's a replica of the Knight's Armament flip-up 300 meter, I believe, in a tan color. Pretty nice. I haven't swapped that out. That's pretty much stayed on here the entire time. Moving to the optic. This is an ACE1ARMS T2 Pro mounted to a Replica Geissele Super Precision T1 mount, which is the lower 1/3 height. And I got this on AliExpress for, it wasn't very expensive, and it's a pretty good replica. It matches the color of my real one really well. I have the real one on my AR pistol build. And this works well enough for the Replica T2. And the cover I have on it is the Tango Down IO cover for the T2. Has these little foot caps that kind of stow in on themselves, and then the rest of it is kind of just like a rubber shell to kind of protect the optic there. Really big fan of the Aimpoint T2 versus the EOTech. It's a lot lighter, and I think I kind of prefer the tube with the standard red dot versus the EOTech reticle, so that's what I'll be sticking with. We got a sling mount here. This is a real Daniel Defense QD mount for RIS. Mounted there, doesn't get in the way, pretty low profile. Haven't had any issues with it. Very solid there. PEQ 15, this is an Element LA5 UHP. This is one I've had for a very, very long time. Haven't had any issues with it. Still works. Let's move down to the vertical grip. This is a Daniel Defense Convert. This is my favorite vertical grip. I really like the size and shape of it. And this is another part I've had for many years and has stuck on pretty much every airsoft build I've done. Flip this over and we'll take a look at the light. This is an SOTAC. Let me see if I can better angle there for you. I believe it's the M600B is what I bought it as on AliExpress. But the reason I bought it on AliExpress was this version has really good coloring. As you can see, it's not that shiny gold that a lot of the Replica scout lights are. And I have it mounted to an Arisaka side scout mount. And this mount allows me to have the light in the position that I want, as well as having the PEQ 15 pushed as far forward as possible. You can kind of see that the light doesn't get in the way of the PEQ 15 at all. Really, really nice setup to have. I know a lot of my previous offset mounts for scouts have always forced me to run the PEQ 15 further back on the rail, and I really like that I can push everything forward. And another item that helps me having my PEQ 15 all the way forward is this front sight, which is a replica of the RailScales. Let me take the suppressor off real quick so I can show you. The RailScales LEAF-PEQ front sight. This is another piece I got on AliExpress. It was not very expensive and it fits well. So you can kind of see it fits into the cutout of the laser module on the PEQ 15 there. Very low profile. And it allows you to have a fixed front sight that doesn't take up really any space at all. It meshes very well with the PEQ 15. Moving to the pressure switch, this is my same Night Evolution tactical augmented pressure switch, only this time I took a lot of material off of the bottom so that I could fit it underneath the PEQ 15. which doesn't give me a whole lot of space to push the buttons, but I can still activate them just fine. And I like having everything pushed as far forward as possible. And I wasn't a fan of actually rail mounting the pressure switch. I didn't like where my thumb was kind of sticking out on the left side rail. So I really like that I can kind of put my palm against that left side rail and then still have the buttons available for my thumb there. But yeah, it took me quite a while to get enough material off of that to where I could wedge it in between the rails and under the PEQ 15 there. And then moving to the muzzle, we have my, I think it's RGW is the company that makes it, but it's a 4-prong flash hider, kind of like the Surefire 4-prong flash hider. And then I have the, what started out as the SOCOM Mini Monster, because they sent me the wrong suppressor when I ordered it from JK Army. But a friend of mine was gracious enough to send me a new end cap. The Mini Monster has these like teeth on the end cap, which I wasn't a huge fan of. So my friend sent me this flat one that matches, I think, the SOCOM Mini or the SOCOM Mini 2. So the suppressor still says Mini Monster, of course, but it's kind of more in the style of a SOCOM Mini or Mini 2 suppressor. So, slide that back on. But yeah, I'm a really big fan of how the various shades of tan kind of complement each other throughout the build. And that about covers it for my externals. I do have some internals coming in, and if you guys would like to see me kind of work on the internals for this build, go ahead and leave that in the comments section and let me know what you'd like to see as far as the internal journey goes. But that's going to cover it for the externals. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't already.